it could cause a variety of different things. But yeah, you could definitely see separations from that for sure.
Okay, I'm sure that will happen with most animals in any way.
It's a confusing thing that's happening, and so
Yeah,
yeah,
I
you could
understand.
see some issues.
If we can just take 10 seconds just so I can reconnect. I don't know what happened.
No
So
worries.
sorry. Of course. Always. Okay, I think we are.
It's JJ's fault.
Yeah, it's all my fault, folks. If there's not a sound issue, I'll put up the volume and then the stream's like, you know what? How's about us have another way for this to fail?
Nope.
Okay. We
That's
seem
okay.
to be back.
I'm trying to fix my stuff too, but you're fine.
Okay, yeah. Let's quickly jump back in. Yeah, we can move on to the next question.
The next question is, what do you think is the most important topic of discussion that should happen between oil companies, legislators, and community leaders in regards to the health and well-being of our oceans and wildlife?
Wow.
Wow.
The most important. Oh my gosh. Gosh, I'm just not even really sure. What is the most important? Man, I mean, I don't know. I really feel like all of these things are important, and I mean, I feel like maybe like if I really had to pick something, like overfishing is a huge issue right now, that needs addressing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, yeah, that's so hard to say that it's more important than all of the other things. But I guess if I had to pick, I'd pick that. But I don't think we have to pick. I think we can.
I think they're all
important.
important.
I think we can focus on many things, and I think that that it's it's possible to do it all.
Yes.
So that should be something that we should be striving to do.
Since our focus is on oil spills specifically for this AMA, as far as oil spills are concerned, what do you think would be the main topic? At least to narrow that down a little.
Yeah. So as far as oil spills go, I think and I think in general the world is doing a pretty good job at like shopping local is such a thing right now. It's like, everybody wants to be doing it. Yeah, exactly. The no pressure question. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I mean, I think like people are doing at least something. We can always be doing more, but people are doing something to stop like crude oil and stuff. I think maybe bringing some more awareness to the other types of spills that are happening.
Yes.
Even though we're focusing on ocean conservation, like the inland spills, guys, are such a big deal. So I think just maybe building some more awareness around that, teaching people why they should care about some of those things that are going on right now would go a long way towards raising some awareness around those issues.
Because I'm quite sure that could be bundled into chemical spills as well in the ocean and on land. It's any type of spill of an object that is not naturally supposed to be on land or in the ocean is. I mean, you could have a whole topic about the vegetable oil thing. Oh my god, that still is affecting me.
Yeah, and like things, the ground absorbs it.
Yes.
And it's, and that seeps into like crops and stuff like that. So no matter who you are, even if you don't care about wildlife, these things are affecting you. So
yeah, they're gonna affect us.
There's something for everyone to care about in terms of there's a ferret in a box over here, so
I can hear it.
He's just, the box is just moving around. Anyway, so yeah, there's just something for everybody to care about, and I think that's something that we could just by bringing some more awareness, we could make some differences that way.
Now, I know
Does that answer your question, Jedi Knight Joey?
I might be shooting a question that is already there, but what can people do currently to participate in these sort of things? I know some people can't physically be at an oil spill, but what can they do from, let's say, their desk, from their home, or
yeah, I mean, like, so if an oil spill were to happen, for instance, like money, guys. I mean, when those things happen, people need money. And sometimes companies are held accountable, and then they have to pay, but there's never going to be enough money. So anytime that you're donating, that can be really helpful. There will be times, like if you're in the area, there will be times that people are able to volunteer, not necessarily, it would probably be more in like a call center type of a thing, because you have to go through very specific training to go anywhere near oil, because it's so bad for people. But we actually have some volunteers are HAZWOPER trained at the aquarium, and would be called upon in those instances. So yeah, I mean, if you have money, volunteer your money. If you have time, volunteer your time. Those types of things are super, super valuable. And then if you don't have any of those, that's fine. Like raising awareness, sharing the information that you have, sharing how other people can donate. Those types of things are really helpful too.
Okay, well, there we go, folks. I think that's one of the most important questions. How do we get involved? But can move on to the next question. I'm actually learning a lot here personally, by the way. I don't know about anyone else. I'll keep going, what? Okay, let's
our next question is, aside from marine and aquatic animals, what other types of animals can be affected by oil spills?
Yeah, so kind of like we just talked about, there are inland oil spills. So in which case, just about anything. Of course, some really at-risk species are going to be amphibians, frogs, because those guys absorb things through their skin. I mean, everybody does to some degree, but frogs especially, like they actually breathe through their skin. And frogs are so fragile anyway. So any of those types of animals, but really anything, like, oil spills up a river and then a deer drinks from the river. I mean, like, these are like, real life things that can absolutely happen. So like literally anything can be affected by these oil spills, and the cleanup for it is so hard. It involves, like, even on beaches, or inland, it involves, like, you have to, like, sometimes they have to carve out like bits of land because it's just soaked with oil, and like literally remove that piece of land, like, to take it somewhere where they can like properly clean it and stuff like that. It's just the cleanup for these things is just absolutely insane. I mean, there's a reason that only 10% of the Exxon Valdez was ever able to be fully cleaned, because it's so logistically hard. So it's far more important to just take preventative steps and try to avoid them in the first place, because fixing them after the fact is so difficult.
And we keep learning about chemicals that break the oil up. I mean, that's the way we get it from the media, but how effective are these things, to be perfectly honest? And then they all have their own issues too. Like, what kind of chemical can break up oil and not then cause other problems in and of itself, right? And this is one of the things too that like, I don't want to dwell too much on, but I definitely did want to bring up is like, we get like some of it shoved down our throat about Dawn dish soap. Yes.
And it is absolutely true. People, we use Dawn dish soap for the cleaning of wildlife in the event of oil spills. However, Dawn dish soap actually, and this is nothing against Dawn dish soap, okay? Dawn dish soap does exactly what it is supposed to do. Which is to break up oil. It is an extremely effective oil remover, but that makes it highly corrosive in and of itself. So there are like we saw like horrifying footage of people who had been for hours cleaning otters and cleaning maybe birds and things like that with Dawn, and had burns from the dish soap.
Oh
not
my God.
From the oil.
The animal and the people, or
oh yeah, the animals can absolutely. So there's a reason too where like in most cases, an animal is not going to be fully cleaned in one go, because they do not want to use too much of it at one time, because it is very dangerous for the animals. And it doesn't just clean off crude oil, right? It wipes out every single oil that you have. And
natural oils as well, like
and your natural oils are very, very important. And it can and does kill birds, like in the cleaning process, especially birds, but all of the animals are very prone to suffering greatly from this process. So that's why it's taken very slowly, and it's done in the safest way possible. So it does drive me a little bit crazy when Dawn dish soap advertises its soap as safe for animals, and then I've heard of many people bathing their like pets in it. Do not do this. Dawn dish soap is so corrosive, guys, but it serves its purpose. It is very valuable to the oil spill cleanup communities because it does help, but it's not safe for it's not safe for you to just use on your animals and stuff like that. Yes. So there's issues even with the the chemicals that we have to use in order to clean the oil spills, and so it's, again, just preventative is far and away our best option here.
My gosh. Now we actually know that now we know that the cleanup product that used to save the animals are actually as dangerous as well, if not used correctly. And I think this is important, possibly I think this is one thing is, if you find an oiled animal, don't try clean it yourself.
Oh gosh, no. And we, like, through my course, there were horror stories and pictures of people, and they were just trying to help, but like just random Joe Schmo off the street, just like covered in oil as they're carrying like an oiled duck or something like that. Oh my god, please do not. Like, it is so bad for you to come into contact with this. There's you have to wear the proper protection, personal protection equipment in order to handle any of these things, and even then it's very dangerous for people. So absolutely better left to the professionals.
Oh my god.
So sorry.
Like, listen, I'm sorry that the stream broke in the middle, but this is probably going to be the most scariest but most informative thing you'll ever see, because it's very important. I think it's, But let's move on to the next question.
Our next question is, how do you prevent a sea otter from attempting to groom itself when it's covered in oil?
Yeah, you don't. So those are obviously the problems, right? I mean, by the time that you find an otter that's covered in oil, it's already tried to groom itself multiple times. So at that point, you're just treating the animal for, trying to get the oil off of it, but also, giving it proper medications, and I think in extreme instances too, they might. You guys have seen like activated charcoal, feeding animals activated charcoal that helps like kind of take care of toxins in the stomach. I don't know if anybody's heard of this or not, but
I have.
Okay.
Use it on humans too.
Yeah. So that can be helpful for toxins, giving lots of fluids just to keep trying to flush the system, and those types of things. So there isn't really a way to stop a sea otter from doing anything that it wants to do. So those are just issues that have to be addressed once the animal has been rescued.
So obviously, because they're following their natural instincts, my fur is dirty, I need to clean it. But that's still another scary question. But it's very important, as you say. I'm seeing something here on chat. Okay, no, actually, just carry on. Sorry, I thought I saw a question on chat. We can move on to the next question.
Okay. Well, our next question is, what are the first and immediate actions in a cleanup event?
Yeah, so the first thing that's going to start happening is going to be essentially like they're gonna try to contain the spill. So trying to keep it from spreading as much as absolutely possible, which is very tricky, but that's going to involve like booms and a variety of things like that. So those are sort of like priority one, and then there's all kinds of like standard operating procedures for stuff like this. So then they're going to go into like activating essentially a system like a phone tree. There's so many things into place. They have to get you have to get the proper people involved in certain areas, set up certain things. Like when we talk about having to do this at the Vancouver Aquarium, we would essentially our Marine Mammal Rescue Center would become a triage zone. But the problem is there are non-oiled animals there as well. So you have to set up an entire area of, here's the red zone essentially, which is animals that are oiled, like actively oiled cases. And then they kind of go through the system until they're like non-oiled at the very, very end. And setting up that type of infrastructure is not easy. So yeah, there's so many things, but the very first thing that's involved is trying to contain the oil spill and make sure that it doesn't spread any more than it already has, which is, it's going to continue to spread. But if they can stop that in any way possible or slow it down, then that's their number one course of action.
And how long do these things take to actually set up in terms of from the oil spill to something actually being completely set up that you're helping the animals? How long does it actually take to put together?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's gonna kind of depend on like the in place like infrastructure. Like we'd be really lucky here that we already at least have a space for rescuing it. It's a very small space, and it's definitely not ideal, but there is already like some existing infrastructure. Oh my gosh! Then you have to think about like because the like MMR is right next to the ocean, and you cannot just let like cleaning the oil off the animals run straight back into the ocean, obviously. So you've got to deal with like waste disposal and stuff like that. It's so crazy, everything that goes into thinking about these types of things. So it could be months, but honestly, that's kind of, the first stage is going to be containment. Then they're going to start trying to clean up the oil, and then the animal rescues start to come in after that. So the animal rescue is not typically priority number one, although it's it's something that people are always thinking about. But it's it's more containing, starting to clean up that oil so that less and less things, animals or places are affected by it. And then the animals start to come in. So you do have a little bit of time for setting up and getting the proper people and stuff like that in the in the proper channels. But it takes time and it takes money and it's insane the type of things that happen and that are in place when these types of things go down.
Whew, that's a bit, so that's the reason I asked that is because the delay, obviously, with trying to set these things up has a heavy impact of how much these animals are still getting hurt and how much environment's still getting damaged. And we all just see the news that there's been an oil spill, and all of a sudden we just see the queues of animals been watching. And, well, personally, me, I'm like, oh, okay, it's being sorted out. But this information is like very revealing. And I know you mentioned, but how soon can people donate to these things when it actually happens? Like, is that something that's also set up relatively quickly?
I think so, because that's what that's what needs to make it happen. So I think very, very quickly thereafter you would be able to find avenues in order to donate to these types of organizations that are moving to help clean up the oil spill. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you've got spare change to just throw at these types of things, those options are going to be available to you. And these are, I make it sound like it is a lot has to go into place because it is important that this is done safely, primarily for humans, because humans are putting themselves at risk to rescue and rehabilitate and to clean up these types of things. So it is important that there is like this really good like infrastructure or I guess infrastructure is not the right word, but just like, structured system that goes into place. And it is finely tuned. It is like there is just a standard operating procedures, and it is, like it works. And it does take a little bit of time, but that extra time is gonna save people's lives and ultimately save animal lives as well, because makes it a very well organized system. So it can be kind of frustrating to watch and go like, we need to clean this up right now, and that is true, and they're working as fast as they can, but it is, it is important to do it safely first and foremost.
Yes, absolutely. Whew. Moving on to it's like, I'm like, tomorrow I'm gonna be like shouting to everyone, stop using cooking oil, stop doing that. Like, switch to electric cars, damn it. But even then, it's still, they got chemical batteries. Oh, this just goes on and on and on. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like we said, you're just making small changes. Like, you don't need to stop using oils entirely.
Yes,
just make sure you're not putting them down the drain, and it's just little things, and just change something little and feel good about it. Feel good about the change that you're making.
And it's unhealthy too to douse your food in oil. Just use a little bit.
Well, yeah, I know. I think that it's something crazy like 70% of your like consumed fats in a day actually come from like just cooking oils, which is kind of interesting too. But
wow.
Butter is delicious, so I'm not giving it up. So you don't have to either. Just just dispose of it properly.
Just be responsible. And how would okay? I know I'm butting in the questions, but how would someone dispose of that properly? Like,
so you can you can actually kind of like put it aside so that it's like it cools down, and then you can actually like jar it up essentially and like throw it away that way, or even compost it afterwards. So you can basically, like, I used to have a big jar of like basically old cooking fats that we just kept, and then we would eventually like compost once it was full or whatever, and it is still going out into the environment. When you go to compost, though, they're going to like the compost and stuff like that is going to help take care of.
But it's still a somewhat more responsible way to do things.
Yeah, it's much better than going down the drain.
Yes.
Definitely like the theme of this fucking show is like reduce, reuse, and then recycle. And that's kind of what we do. So so reducing, but then making sure you're disposing of it properly, which could be like composting, because then the compost and all the bacteria and stuff like that helps to break down all that kind of stuff in a natural way. And then just don't pour it down the drain. Very important.
Anything. We've learned that about wet wipes. We've learned that about cat litter. We've learned that about everything. Stop throwing everything down the toilet or the drain. Oh my gosh, that's like, my mind is like.
Also, there's some oils, depending on what you're cooking, that you could let it cool down and we'll just pour it into a container from a filter and actually reuse the oil a few more times. So you don't even have to buy new oil.
See?
Can I just say, as a bachelor back in my 20s, I was helping the environment my own way, because I'm like, if oil's expensive, let me filter this, get all that, and I'm gonna reuse. I was on that. Accidentally.
That's all right. Accidentally environmentalizing.
Yes. And I just got a post here from Baby Boy over here that says restaurants recycle their oil. I hope they all do. I really do.
Yeah.
That sounds, even if they're trying to save money, like, I don't care. Just redo that. We're gonna have to have a whole different series about like support and how we can support things. And by the way, this is why you need to watch Jess's and KP's cooking shows, because I'm quite sure when they do things, they're very responsible with the oils, and we can learn how to cook better.
Challenge! Yes. The challenge is on. Okay.
The challenge is on. We want more responsible cooking shows.
Got it. Responsible cooking.
Yes.
Check.
Okay. Next question. Sorry.
Okay, our next question is, what are common duties or tasks for cleanup crews or HAZWOPER?
Yeah, so I don't know as much about the cleanup crews, because like I said, I would not be involved in the cleaning up necessarily of the oil, but they're doing a lot of like there's oil booms, and then there's like, this is such a painstaking process. There's basically like oil absorbent pads and things like that you can use. They're literally like scrubbing rocks, guys. Like it's crazy. Like lots of rinsing, lots of scrubbing, those types of things. But the part that I would be involved in would just be with the animals, and in all likelihood, I would probably just be involved in the actual rescues, and probably not as much in the like actual cleanup. But basically, what they're doing is you go out to a site, you assess the situation. Can we safely access this animal? What's the condition of the animal? Where do we have does this animal critical? Does it need to come back to a triage site, or can we take it full on to our site? Once on the site, that animal's going to be stabilized. That's the first thing, because they are very sick and they cannot necessarily survive the cleaning process. Like, we think of wanting to get the oil off of them, and that is something that's super important, but especially with birds, like I said, that process is very tough on the little bodies of the animals, and it is not guaranteed that they survive the actual washing process. So they make sure that the animal, has that supportive care, like fluids and stuff like that on board, and then they do the washing. And like I said, it's going to take, like, sometimes they're doing this for hours, and the animal needs 4 or 5 washings to even be completely back to normal. So that's the whole like washing process, and then hopefully the animal is starting to improve, gets better. Hopefully it doesn't have any lasting damage and can then potentially be released. But of course, where do you release the animal? There's oil out in the ocean. So it's like, it becomes a very tricky thing.
Yeah.
They have to be released probably in a completely different area than where they were found, which is not ideal. Usually you like to release the animals
at a home that they know that they use.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not possible in the event of oil spills and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just sort of like a very, very whirlwind explanation of roughly what would be going on in the event of an oil spill.
And I think it would be in a similar effect. I'm not trying to draw the parallels of humans and animals again, just to make people aware of how serious that is for an animal to be relocated in that. Yes, they're more adaptable, but that is like us having to be relocated when there's a fire. It's not
and
easy.
Some people would be displaced by oil spills. Like, it's not unlike that. So it's definitely there's definitely some parallels to be drawn to, for sure.
But speaking of those things, I don't know if you're aware of things like that. Sometimes I've seen them, they've used like lines of fire to try and burn the oil, but isn't that essentially also very damaging to the atmosphere, and that when they're using that process? And how effective is that?
I don't think that's like the like the first thing they try to do. Like,
yes,
I don't think that.
I think that's last resort.
I don't think that that's usually. Plus, like, that stuff can get out of control so fast. So no. So like I said, I'm not as well versed in like how those spills are actually going to be cleaned up, because it's a completely different set of skills and set of training that those professionals have, and there are people who it is literally their job in the world to do this type of thing, and that's unfortunately not me. So I don't actually know a whole heck of a lot, so I don't want to speak too much to it.
Because when I'm googling pictures, I was googling pictures of oil field. Like, for people watching, the picture behind me is the most calm and less depressing photo I could find. I was like shocked.
Yeah, we're watching little fishies right now. We're just talking about oil spills. We're not even looking at oil spills right now.
Literally, I'm just like, I've just got a classic barrel of oil on the beach. There's no animal. It's just the beach covered in oil. It's very small, but oh god. It's not a... sorry, Mr.
It's the stuff of nightmares, it really is.
Okay, how many questions have we got left, by the way, Reiha? Just so we know.
We actually have 12 more questions.
12?
And I know we're coming up on that hour mark.
We can continue.
Carry on, please. Let's talk from me. I'm sorry, this is just a really intense topic for me. Just move on to the next question, Reiha.
Our next question is, are some animals more susceptible to oil spills than others?
Yeah, we've kind of touched upon this a little bit. I mean, sea otters in particular have a variety of other issues that most animals don't, which is that big fur coat, which causes a lot of problems. And then So yeah, there's definitely animals that have different challenges. But we kind of touched upon this a little bit earlier, so I won't go too far in depth. But yeah, sea otters are one of those that have very unique challenges associated with it, simply because they have a fur coat, which is, definitely not the norm.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much like everything is susceptible to an oil spill. It affects everyone,
They're all
everything.
just kind of different types of problems they're gonna have. Yeah.
Sorry, can we move on to the next question? I'm trying to not speak. This is too intense for me.
No worries, JJ. Our next question is, how is a staging location set up to deal with animal cleanup?
How is the staging set up? I mean, we kind of talked about this again. It's so there's going to be like a hot zone, which are animals that are actively oiled, and in that zone, like, you would basically just work in that area, and you're not going to then cross-contaminate and go work in the non-oiled animal area. And then it just kind of goes from that red zone, and it's going to decrease in severity as the animals get less and less oiled. So that's, like, just sort of like the crash course in how that would work. But yeah, there's definitely like a way to hopefully limit getting re-exposed to a bunch of oil.
Wow. Not gonna comment.
It's got to be like the most organized, chaotic, really logistical situation.
Oh my gosh!
I think it has to be. It's amazing.
It's intense. Like, there's standard operating procedures for this kind of thing, but there's not, like, but then there's that reading it, and then there's doing it. So yeah, we went through a lot of, we had to do like a lot of exercises, and we go through this training every, I forget, I think it's every 2 years. Actually, I think it was supposed to be every year, but this year the year before, we weren't able to do it because of COVID. But
yes.
So yeah, we go through a lot of scenarios and a lot of brainstorming and stuff like that to try to think about how we would actually do this.
And has yourself or Vanakwa in any way ever been involved in a cleaning in your time of an oil spill or something, whether it be anything related to that?
Yeah, I mean, the Vancouver Aquarium housed animals from the Exxon Valdez, but those animals were already, like, cleaned and already, they were just deemed non-releasable. And recently there was actually an oil spill off of our coast here in BC, and I don't know if it's still active or not, but there were there were a couple reports of sea otters in that area that the aquarium was aware of, and we were monitoring, and there was a possibility that we would be potentially picking up some of those animals, but fortunately they didn't really seem to ever actually come into direct contact with the oil. So there wasn't ever any confirmed cases of sea otters being exposed to that oil in this particular very, very small oil spill. So there's definitely been things happening, but it hasn't, luckily it hasn't come to like a giant oil spill off the coast, like, off the coast of the west coast of Vancouver Island, where the sea otter population is now huge. That would cause really big problems for us.
Oh, that I don't even imagine that. That's
I know, it's terrifying. It's terrifying for us to think about. Plus, like, trying to house like wild, angry sea otters is like not at the top of my list of a good time.
So many. I mean, I'm quite sure the sea otters anyway, that Katma and all that, they rowdy as they normally are.
Yeah, I know. Imagine them being like enraged and angry. It's not a good visualization.
So I have a question. This is actually off the top of my head, but this is kind of going towards the whole staging and location for the cleanup. Mm-hmm. How would they handle, because the water comes in from the ocean, and you have this area that, like, you have animals that are possibly being cleaned up and everything. There's gonna be runoff at some point.
Yeah, so the way that it's handled is you are essentially bathing the animals into containers, and then those containers are sealed up and wheeled out and disposed of by, I actually don't even know how they dispose of them, but disposed of in the proper way of disposing of oil, probably in a similar way to what we're talking about, how you can properly dispose of chemicals and like oil wastes and stuff like that. So that water theoretically doesn't hit the ground. I mean, of course, like every once in a while there might be like a little bit of a splash or something like that, but you're essentially bathing them like into tubs where that water is contained, and then it is put into containers and shipped out, basically. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I was actually really curious about that because we talked so much about the staging. That was a decent question.
Yeah, but like.
Yeah, no, and it's something that's definitely there's a lot of consideration put into, and like hopefully too, this spill doesn't actually happen like right by MMR, which is like it's a shipping lane right next to there, because then where would you even pull your water from? And then you've got other issues. So
that is, gosh. No, with the complications, like, we need water. We can't because it's already dirty. Like, my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, the dread.
I'll definitely for people watching that, I'll definitely try to Google and try to do as much research on how the oil is disposed. And if I find a link, I'll post it on my Discord so people can actually see the furtherness from that question. But I'm quite sure it's handled responsibly. I hope. But yeah, yeah, we all hope, but I'm quite sure.
As much as possible. As much as possible, yeah. Well, it'd make no sense for them to spend all this money to...
And then just throw it away somewhere.
Yeah, and then just be like, we just put it out in the ocean. I don't see the problem. Like,
they wouldn't know. Oh gosh.
Okay, our next question is, do you remember when the Valdez oil spill happened, and did it inspire you to do what you do?
Excuse you, do I remember when the Valdez happened?
Who asked that question? No, joking.
I was 1 year old when the Exxon Valdez oil spill happened. I do not remember it personally, but the Exxon Valdez oil spill happened in 1989. I was barely capable of cognitive thought, so it didn't really inspire me a lot, but it has in later years, absolutely, and more so recently with my Haswapper courses, really kind of just like kind of what we're doing now, like you guys are now understanding just a little bit of like how big of a deal this is when it happens. And so, that makes it even more important that we try to avoid. I mean, everybody knows we don't want oil spills to happen, but now we really don't fucking want oil spills to happen,
Yes.
So, I mean, the Exxon Valdez is definitely a big one, and definitely, like closer to my heart because of the impact on sea otters. But yeah, I mean, I just think like education, through my course, and then what I'm trying to pass on to you is a huge inspiration for me. Just having that knowledge and that, like, in my arsenal, like it's like a weapon, and we can use it to make sure that we're making appropriate choices. So
I'll actually say that Exxon oil spill was the first oil spill I remember seeing as a kid. Like, when I realized that stuff actually happened, I was like 9. And I was like, what happened? And I just remember my parents trying to touch me. Don't worry, they'll be fine. They'll be clean. Everything. You see, the lies. It'll be totally sorted out. I mean, it's... it'll be gone in a couple of weeks or days. I think they're just saying that just to... so I wouldn't. Gosh, no. But I was just seeing...
years. Yeah, I mean, it's... And honestly, it's not like your parents are probably didn't know either. I mean, it's like... Those are just what we think, and we think, the professionals are on it, and
we just
they've got it, don't worry about it.
The small parts, and like, it's been clean, and like, no, it hasn't. It's still affecting animals today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Move on to the next question, please.
We're kind of showing our age too right now, though. Yeah. Like, the only thing I remember from that is the commercials.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, at least now we know you guys are both way older than I am.
Oh,
so.
people know.
Excuse you, I am not that much older than you.
At least we've cleared that up,
Wow.
which is nice.
Tangent, alert, alert, we have hit a soft spot. People already know I'm an old goat. They've seen enough of my videos and seen my face. Oh, come on. Like, I don't mind. Let's move on to the next question before we have another incident.
Our next question is, are you aware of the damage to marine life in the Gulf of Mexico from Deepwater Horizon in 2010?
Oh, yes.
What mammals were injured or killed as a result of this ecological disaster?
Yeah, so I will be the first to admit, I do know Deepwater Horizon, but I did a little bit of research before the stream because I knew this was one of your questions. So, the Deepwater Horizon is one of the biggest oil spills of all time, and obviously because it was like it's not just like what's contained in an oil tanker; it was just being constantly pumped from the bottom of the ocean floor, and the main animals. I mean, we're talking like the big ticket animals, right? Because there's lots of animals affected by these types of things, but there's only a few, like we talked about already, that people actually care about. Most people, I should say. So, apparently the Kemp's Ridley sea turtles, apparently they estimate about 20% of the sea turtles that were in that area died from that oil spill, which is insane. And of course, we know sea turtles are already struggling as a species. There were lots of issues with bottlenose dolphins. They swim through that oil and they eat animals that have potentially been killed or severely injured by that oil. And they breathe at the surface, which of course is where a lot of the oil is going to sit. And that they can aspirate some of that oil, which is very, very bad for them. So I was reading something like they think that there was a 50% decline in that bottlenose population in subsequent years, just because the bottlenose dolphins were maybe not necessarily dying instantly. Some of them were, or not instantly, but some of them did die like right in the wake of the oil spill, but many suffered health issues for years afterwards that either rendered them incapable of properly reproducing and a variety of other things. So a 50% decline in that population from that. And those are sort of the main ones. Although there was another affected sea turtle. I can't remember the actual. It was a green sea turtle or something else that were affected as well. But those were kind of the main ones: the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle and the bottlenose dolphin.
The follow-up question to that is, has there been any recovery or balance returned to that area?
I mean, yes, but in a lot the same way of the Exxon Valdez, like it's never going to be the same, probably, and because that was happening below the water, like there's a lot that we don't see, like a lot of damage that you can't really see. So yeah, I mean the area has definitely recovered, but they're still dealing with the fallout of it, and in all likelihood it will never really be quite the same as it was before.
And I walked away for 2 seconds because I needed to take a breath, and I came back to that answer, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is a nightmare.
But it's important to know these hard subjects, because we all live in a bubble, and we think that what we're doing is okay or is enough, and it just goes to show that it's not. We are blinded to the information. We get these corporations hiding how much damage things have actually caused.
Yeah, and like I said too, like there's I don't know the exact number, but you have to spill like over a certain amount in order to actually be legally required to report it.
Oh my gosh.
So they don't even have to report some of the smaller spills that are happening.
I'm gonna ask this question.
I'm so sorry, JJ.
But this is like, I am not okay. It's like, this is a subject that's very dear to me. But if I may ask this question, because it's popped up and it's a very interesting question. It's like, are whales and dolphins smart enough to avoid the oil, or do they just go through it?
Yeah, so in general, if they can see it, they're not going to want to swim through like something weird that they see straight in front of them. But that's if they see it, you know. I mean, crude oil's a little bit easier to see, but it you know, it's possible that they might not see it, or they're in you know, they're below it too, because if it has floated all at the surface, they are going to have to surface. They're not going to necessarily be able to see that there's something on the surface, or not be able to avoid it, because they do still have to breathe. So yes, I think that they're definitely smart enough to try to avoid those things, but it's just not always going to be possible.
Yeah, and they're still always impacted.
Yeah.
And as mentioned earlier, I've just put in chat, and then they still end up eating the fish that were contaminated, and so that's still a danger.
Yeah, exactly.
My gosh. Next question, please.
The next question is, in your deeper dive episode 2, vegetable-based oils were mentioned as being even worse than petroleum. How was it worse?
Well, I didn't say that they were even worse, but thank you for watching the video. I said that they are more prominent. They are more not prominent. They are more numerous.
Because it's an everyday thing, without even realizing.
So crude oil spills do happen. They're very, very bad. But vegetable oil spills happen all the time, like way, way more than. And those aren't being like, or maybe they are being reported, but like everybody goes, "Oh, vegetable oil spill, that's not a big deal," but it is a big deal. So it's not that they're worse than crude oil spills. It's just that they're far more numerous, so they're causing many more problems because it's happening way more often. Yeah, but thanks for having me clarify that.
Yeah, wow. And we had that little bit of a conversation earlier on about vegetable oil being so damaging. Again, cooking show one day, folks. We're going to have a Earth Day cooking show. I think KP and Jess do something like that.
What do I have to do on an Earth Day cooking show?
I don't know, just show us how to be responsible when we're cooking with oil. Even all the process are, you know, something.
Okay.
I issue that
challenge.
I issue that
challenge. PSA on disposing of oil properly.
Because with the data on the man, they just put oil and we just take for granted what we're actually doing and how we're disposing of that. I will say openly, I am horrible.
We'll do a PSA to start and end the stream. Yeah, or Pema says I should just do a salad cooking stream where I'm like, here's cooking without oil. This is a salad. Eat it.
Here's how to use an air fryer.
Delicious.
End of story. Oh, man. How many questions are we down, by the way?
Filtering through it, we actually do have just 2 more.
Perfect. Let's do it.
And by the way, it's not that I want to end the show off early or anything like that. But I'm like, oh, one more question's going on. This is a very important subject, so I hope people are really absorbing this. Which is a bit of a pun, a horrible pun, but let's move on to the next question.
The next question is, what advice would you give for older people wanting a career shift in regards to employment opportunities in sea life environmental studies?
Cool. So... this is a good question. It's not really like oil spill related, but I like it. So it's never too late. A lot of facilities do require, if you're talking about like marine mammal training specifically, we are all required to have bachelor's degrees in some sort of science field. But barring that, there are lots of volunteer opportunities that can potentially lead to to careers in the area or in something similar. Even roles as like educators at facilities, those are super important. There's lots of opportunities in like research for data collection and stuff like that. It's maybe not like the most exciting work. I guess it could be, depending on stuff like that, if you like it. But but it is super important. So there's like animal observers and stuff like that are always really necessary for research and things like that. So so I would definitely recommend. I mean, you can definitely send me a message too if you have anything specific in mind. It's hard to know when I don't know exactly what what interests you. So I've got a ferret bathroom emergency. So yeah, so because there are so many fields, but there's never not a possibility, and it doesn't matter how old you are. So yeah, that's a good question, but definitely get in touch with me, or come over to the stream at another time or something like that, and we can talk a little bit more personally about exactly what interests you, and I can try to help you out a little bit more in personalized fashion.
This is why we do these things. It's added avenues of information. But I had a very good question here. Are the animals awake when they're being washed?
Yeah, so they're not going to typically anesthetize the animals for the washing process. These animals too are extremely compromised. Well, I wouldn't say they're not going to. I guess I was thinking mostly of birds. Birds are definitely awake during the process. But they probably would actually anesthetize sea otters, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was like, how in the world would you wash an awake sea otter? You just wouldn't. So that's why that stabilization process is so important, because the animals have to be healthy enough to survive an anesthesia, or in the case of birds, to survive the actual washing process. I guess it would probably depend on the age of the animal. Like a full-grown male sea otter, no shot, we're going to wash that animal when it's awake. But a younger animal, or an animal easier to restrain, possibly. So yeah, it's I guess it's very dependent on the actual animal, but that's why it's so important to get that stabilization and all that stuff on board, so that you can make sure the animal can survive whatever has to happen to help it on its way to healing.
Yes, to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Reiha?
Double is asking if you would sedate the sea otter during collection.
No, a field sedation is pretty dangerous, and so no.
Simple answer. Nope.
Sorry. Yeah, no. There's field sedation is just so tricky. It's not impossible, but super tricky, and monitoring those animals, and it's just not really necessary for the actual transport and the capture. But yeah.
Our last question is otter related.
Imagine.
What are the chances?
Nyack, is that how you say it?
Nyack, yeah.
They're saying that I learned Nyack was rescued from an oil spill. I know she passed over 10 years ago, but would you tell us more about her and her time at the aquarium? She must have lived with Elfin and Tanu. Unfortunately, there's not much footage about her story.
Yeah, so again, how old do you think I am, people? I did not work with Nyack, but I do know of her. She was an Exxon Valdez sea otter. And yes, she did live with Tanu and Elfin a little bit, but primarily Tanu. She lived with Tanu and Milo, who were at the aquarium, and Milo and Nyack are the original hand holders. So when you Google sea otters holding hands,
that viral video.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 times you are looking at footage of Nyack and Milo.
Yes.
And they are kind of who taught Tanu to hold hands, and Tanu and Katmai used to do it. and then it's sort of like hopefully kind of wheedling its way in throughout the other otters, but definitely it was definitely strongest with Nyack and Milo. So I never personally worked with Nyack. I heard a lot about her. And she was one of the last Exxon Valdez sea otters, surviving Exxon Valdez sea otters before she passed away.
She actually has
of
the
unrelated
most viral video of hand holding. Like when I've seen that video, and then I actually see, wait a minute, that's Cahoon's Lagoon. I'm like, that's the pool. It's actually
she's trying her damnedest to Katmai's really trying to pass on the torch, but yeah, Nyack did it first.
That is the best video, the way the hand is grabbed, the otter looks to the side like, are you grabbing my hand? Okay, never mind. Yes, but it is passing on. I still, folks, to be on the light note is watch Tazzy grab Joey's hand. She's not just rafting, she's like, I am going to raft with you and you will like it. Both hands, like, please hold on to me. It's so cute.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope Katmai teaches everyone. Yes, she does. Thank you. I have the one question here. There's something, I'm just going to read it about a special washing machine for birds. Does that contraction exist? I've never heard of that. This is the first time I'm seeing it. Like a
special washing machine?
Yes. It's something we're going to need to Google, people.
Yeah, maybe I'll Google it.
I just imagine the bird.
I've never heard of it. Bird?
Washing machine.
Washing machine.
I'm literally thinking of a front loader washing machine and
chuck every bird inside and just like feathers come out.
Is that what this is?
Let me actually check. I might have to post a YouTube link off.
That looks scary. What is that?
A washing machine for birds and dogs to save them from what?
To save them from what?
From oil spills. This is literally okay.
I don't think this is a real thing.
I have.
Or if it is, I think it's.
This I feel like this has to be trolling.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching this thing and I have not yet seen this washing machine. That's
Oh, you're watching I see the YouTube video that you're watching.
Yeah, I'm waiting to actually see where this washing machine or demo of it.
Dramatically improves survival.
Like, show me the machine.
A new bird washing machine dramatically improves. Huh, I'm gonna have to read this. This is an article. It seems like a real article.
Oh my gosh.
New bird washing machine dramatically improves survival of birds caught in oil spills. So this is what I'm talking about. Their survival rate is not great of like just surviving the process. So yeah.
I just watched a sped through a 7-minute video about a washing machine for birds, and not one part of this video had a washing machine. YouTube, please learn. Don't try to troll me.
Clickbait.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to read this article. What I'm watching here is like literally just the process of cleaning the bird.
Yes,
so
there's
like,
nothing.
This is not
with the
a new machine. But yeah, I haven't heard of that. I'm gonna go ahead and like preemptively say it's not a real thing. Just because. No, because I've never heard of it, and
there's a lot of links to it, but there's nothing here that's actually showing that or demonstrating the actual washing machine. So it seems to possibly somewhat exist. There's even a link from the EC Europa, so that's actually from the environmental organization in Europe about a new way to wash birds, but there's nothing. There's no photos. There's no.
Right, and so and I didn't hear about it through any of my training, so my guess would be it is not used.
Yes,
maybe it's something that they've like sort of proposed, but for one reason or another is not being used.
Yeah, I think it would be important to train
actively.
People on that. Yeah. So
anyway,
I've put a link to the article from the actual ec.europa.eu, the European Commission. I've posted a link there. There's no photos there, but it's basically talking about a new bird, but it's also in quotations, bird washing machine.
So the reason too that birds die often is in part due to like the harsh chemical nature of what's actually happening when you're doing that, but it is also because birds get stressed out very easily, and like the act of restraining birds, it's also why this process takes an enormous amount of time in the birds, is because they're only going to do it for a period of time, just like sometimes even just a few minutes at a time, because a bird can be so fragile to becoming overly stressed out and dying from stress. I imagine it's probably pretty similar with like reptiles, and how you don't really want to stress them out because they're very closely related. So
one question I was asking in my chat is, who decides who is the vet or veterinarian technician for these cleanups? Is it based on area, or is there like a selection on who gets to assist in the cleanup?
Who decides?
Yeah, or how is that decided? Maybe I should rephrase that.
Yeah, I mean, so what would happen is we would kind of be like people in the general area working for the Vancouver Aquarium or volunteering, or the people who've been properly trained would be like the hands on the ground in a lot of these instances. But there is an organization that like, let's see, I'm gonna look it up so that I don't bullshit you guys, that that is really in charge of all of this stuff, the Oiled Wildlife Response. So Oiled Wildlife Response would actually send people, and they do send people. So they would
they have their own group of people.
Yeah, who would be like kind of overseeing and in charge and helping out, because in a lot of these areas, like if it were to happen here, we've never really dealt with that kind of a thing before. They would especially be doing things for birds because we don't have the experience to do anything with birds. So they would probably set up their own entire bird facility for doing these types of things. And then they would be around for helping us and really sort of, giving us the infrastructure and the plans and the support in order to be successful in something like this.
Okay.
So
that's interesting information. They have a whole organization just for people for this. Are we out of questions? Do we have any more? Anyone on chat? We've got 5 minutes.
We're actually done on our questions, but I just had a quick announcement for everyone. I am leaving the suggestions for the charity event stream open, that you can still submit them. It's going to stay open until April 30th. And for anyone who had submitted a scenario for the debunking your pet, please at me in the AMA channel or just message me so that I can get with KP and consolidate your information, and we can do the follow-up with you to see if you've tried anything of what was suggested.
Yes, and if it worked, and feedback. I think that's if enough people post, maybe that's worth enough doing a very short, small AMA of the information that has been given back, because that is
I don't think we're going to be running out of topics anytime.
No. I mean, we keep coming up with these interesting topics. I mean, for me, this was a very emotionally charging topic. I didn't expect it to find out so much information that I did. That is actually quite shocking. And also, there is a glimmer of hope of how many organizations get involved with this, but still, it's quite shocking to know that these oil spills are never 100% cleaned. So the more we have, the more residue we're leaving on the planet, which makes you think about what you're eating as well, how you're cooking it, even fish. What are you eating in the fish? As you said, everything's a risk, but it keeps that little mind eye open, like, what?
For sure.
But thank you. But I'm looking forward to that charity stream. So guys, also, I mean, if you share the information, I'll pass it on to KP as well. I'm really looking forward to when KP is doing that. That's going to be a great event to have.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I really had a good time when we did our last one, and I didn't want to financially put people out, but everybody was like, "No, let's do it." And I'm like, "All right, well, that's up to you guys.
People want to donate, they want to help, and I think it'll be something big. It'll be something exciting. And yeah, it's another avenue to donate, because as I'll say this, as much as we want to donate to the otters, there are a lot of marine mammals that need our support, and we don't necessarily just need to focus on specific amounts of otters. There are otters out there that Marine Mammal Rescue Center helps anyway, that we need to consider. There's a lot of animals that need our assistance.
Yeah, for sure.
But
otters just happen to be the cutest, but
yes, of course, they number one on the
but that
list.
means otters get so much help because they're so cute that everybody donates to otters. We'll have to spread the love a little bit. But
yes, I'll spread the love.
I'll see what you guys voted for. So,
which is, by the way, it was very weird. Just a little story. I asked the people that we're involved with. I'm like, can you give me a list of the marine mammal foundations that you support so we can align themselves? And they sent back sea turtles and manatees. And I'm like, a sea turtle is a marine mammal?
Well,
it's a mammal?
No, not really. But
I'm like, no, they were just on question. But I mean, I think they get enough representation. So we went for our sea potatoes, the little potatoes of the ocean.
Yeah.
I would actually like to think maybe this is something interesting. First of all, do we know what our topic next week's going to be, or roughly what we might be covering? Is that something? Because I don't
think we've completely figured it out yet.
We were going on something similar of notion. I think we were talking about overfishing, and what was the other topic that we were talking about?
Potentially, like just ocean pollution, like not necessarily oil spills, but talking about
just
full
about
things like plastics and debris and stuff like that, in addition to chemicals and just kind of a little overreaching.
Entanglements, that's a big thing. I mean, that was just covered in a recent episode that MMOC had. Entanglements are such a big thing here in South Africa. Massive.
Yeah.
It's something we need to know about. But can I issue this challenge? I don't know. I was thinking of a hashtag or something we could post that the people have been watching this, because it's something since it's been Earth Day, that we do something next month, even if it's something small, doing your part. I was thinking like hashtag Tastalks doing your part, or hashtag KP doing your part, that maybe you could put it in so we could follow up and see what you've done. But I think after this show, it's very important that we try and do our best to do something, even if it's small. But maybe you could share it with like our channel, especially on KP's side, because I mean my channel's Tastalk, but on KP's side, her channel is extremely versed in animal care and that. But maybe something, I don't know, we could do something.
Yeah, if we have ideas, something like small changes or just something like that.
Put your story or take a photo of what you've done, and then maybe post it. If KP wanted Reiha's also maybe create a thing that people can post there, but maybe also put the hashtag wherever you post, so we can just go hashtag KP doing your part, I've done my part, or something like that. We'll figure it out. I'll post it in.
Yeah.
And we can see.
We'll discuss this later.
If you've got a great idea.
But I'm just putting it out there now.
Falling asleep at the wheel. She's like, "Please, can we be done so I can go to bed?"
I think it'll be something. I need the bathroom really quickly. But thank you so much for joining. KP, are you going to still be streaming after this? Or...
Yeah, we're gonna go continue on our discussions for a little while longer. Maybe play a game. I don't know what's up. Yeah. I don't know what we're gonna do yet. We're gonna do a ferret trick because Night Zombie just redeemed it. But
so folks, you can carry on going watching on KP's side. Maybe you can ask him more questions, and then we'll discuss about doing something more that you guys can do. But start doing it now. Take a photo, do whatever, and then when we discuss how we're gonna post it, we'll share with everyone. But start something now.
Because
this is very important. But thank you so much.
And then there is obviously some people have kind of mentioned it, but there is my deeper dive specifically talking about oil spills and the Exxon Valdez, and you can check that out too on the old YouTube's channel.
Is that video that you had earlier? I need to.
I reposted the link in my chat. So
let me quickly go and post it on my side. But
a lot of you guys have already seen it, so I appreciate that. But
yes.
But if you haven't, it's good. It's a little sad, so get the tissues ready. But it's all in the name.
JJ. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I'm just snuggling with the ferret.
JJ, it's already posted in the AMA channel on your Discord.
I was gonna post it.
I posted it while we were
going
through
the
questions.
Link and post it on my YouTube. Otherwise, just visit my Discord people to find the link on the AMA channel. The deeper dives, as they said, they are a bit emotionally charged, but they're honest, and I think they need to be honest. We need to be honest about these things. And as today, I've learned so much about oil spills that are scary, but it's I'm buying an air fryer.
Awesome.
Just on that. But thank you very much.
Buying an air fryer.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. That's hashtag small changes. JJ
small
did
changes.
it. He bought an air fryer.
Small changes. I'm buying an air fryer. But thank you so much, ladies.
Awesome.
And thank you for joining KP and Reiha. And we will catch you guys on next week's episodes. A lot of you are not subscribed or watching, even on my channel. I'm sure on KP, if you're not subscribed or following us, please click that button. It gives us a lot of support. And it obviously informs you when we're doing this next time. So thank you again for joining us.